doom hammering himself to death. And he
Yeah.
actually stated on Twitter directly afterwards that he assumed that Dark Wanix was playing the Druids similar to DreamHack, where Dark Wanix didn't run combo. He
Oh, the
ran
warrior
big,
druid.
heavy legendaries, right? The
Yeah,
Warrior Druid. So
exactly.
he was playing with that assumption, saying he can't burst me, but that's exactly what happened, and he just died. So
Ah,
now
okay.
Reynad, no more excuses. He's seen some of his players, some of the players play yesterday. He's seen some of their decks, getting a sense of their styles, and he's gonna start off by playing Miracle Rogue, or at least it looks like Miracle Rogue with the Shiv, and he's going to be busting out a different deck than he did yesterday, right off the bat.
Well, so Tice, thinking about that Blood Knight with the Argent Squire, but playing against the Druid, or playing against a Rogue, you have to expect a Rogue to pop that bubble immediately. So he's not going to try to go
Mm-hmm.
for the crazy Blood Knight combo, just 6/6 on turn two type of thing. Going to wait for it a
Sure.
little bit. Yeah.
And Reynad's not on the coin. Zoo is. That's definitely a little annoying. But Reynad does pick up SI7 agent, which is nice. Even if you don't have backstab on turn four, you have a deadly poison charge plus the SI7. Ty's also, he's picking up the Zoo. He's a believer now. Granted, it's been performing great yesterday. He
Yep.
played Hunter, Miracle, and Druid, and now he's bringing in a
Mhm.
Zoo instead. So I'm curious what other decks he's bringing, but it seems like the players have a lot of respect right now for the aggro Warlock deck.
Yeah, the Aggro Warlock had an amazing run yesterday, and we're still seeing it. We're still seeing a lot of wins with the Zoo deck, even in our first series. I'm interested to see with the Ironbeak Owl. It's the first time I think we've seen it in the Zoo decks so far in the event.
Oof, oof, this is kind of rough. The shield
Yeah.
bearer, that 4 health is going to be so annoying for Reina to deal with. He needs to kind of reach immediately with that SI7, excuse me. But this does certainly help, though. The
Yeah.
Farseer allows him to drop a 3 drop. Reynad also might even just weapon up if he feels like inclined to do it, because next turn he also can Deadly Poison and then SI7.
Yeah, and that's what
Actually,
he's trying to
I think
decide
that's
right now.
superior. I think that's actually superior. If you attack the shield bearer, weapon up,
Yeah,
but then
I think that's
you're
good.
betting your opponent doesn't have a Shadow Sun Cleric though, right, Chandman?
Yeah, I think that's what I would do too. And even if he does, it's still okay. I mean, you still have the option to Deadly Poison and Blade Flurry, right? So,
Sure.
lot gives you just more options. Being that play that you're talking about, just hitting here, weaponing up.
Yeah. It sets up a following play, but it can get ruined if his opponent draws into something nice. But he also is going to sacrifice some health if he drops a lot of one drops. He would lose a lot of health. And Reyna has actually played this matchup a lot recently.
Mhm.
He's been practicing with Hyped all the time, and Hyped is a Miracle Rogue savant. And I think, Reynad knows the matchup really well from the opposite side. That might help him, at least in terms of how he's approaching the matchup.
Okay, so not the most ideal draw for Tice.
No.
Yeah, so he draws another four. He's got a ton of fours here, and this is almost like an empty, somewhat of an empty turn for Tice from the standpoint of just building up this board. So Reynad really looking at this pretty similar situation as he had last turn, but he's able to actually play the S side this turn. He can throw that Sinister Strike as the initiator, remove the Knife Juggler, and definitely good in pretty good shape here.
Hmm. Right, and then the following turn, he has the ability to Blood Mage, Deadly Poison, and Blade Flurry if he drops something like really heavy hitting.
Yeah.
And that's actually like just again the power of the Miracle Rogue. But Reyna needs to find a way to continue to push out draws because he's going to be investing a lot of resources into stabilizing the board, while Zoo continues to just get these resources really easy with the hero power. So Reynad, as much as it's nice that he's able to kind of continue to respond to his opponent, he needs something a little bit more, and he's going to be looking for ways to draw into stuff. Shiv to
Yeah.
clear, Fan of Knives, even to Gadget Stand.
All right, so I think you played the Earth in here. Swing, armor, weapon up again. There you go. Good turn. And Tice, again, his cards aren't quite lining up perfectly like you see with some of the zoo
Yeah,
games.
where are his
Uh,
one drops? The way to fill the mana
exactly.
curve.
He's
What,
got
another
fours
4 drop? Are
galore.
you kidding me?
I know, he's drawn like four of his four drops now, which I think that's
Yeah.
all the four drops that they have in this deck. Maybe outside of Leroy, maybe he has Leroy too, but that's pretty unfortunate for him. And he kind of got a Blood Knight too with nothing to combo with. I'm guessing he might have some Scarlet Crusaders in this deck also.
It's so interesting because out of the first 10 cards, he's drawn all four of his four drops, assuming that that's the only one he runs. And
Oh
Reynad's
man,
like, well,
that's
okay.
good.
He's tapping on turn five while he's like, Reynad's been having really passive turns. Like, he hasn't been able to, he clearly doesn't have Gadget Stand and like prep and conceal. He just has kind of situational cards. But at the same time, he's been given time. And this is something that's really nice here if you're a Miracle Rogue player, because it's like, well, he's giving me a way to kind of respond to it. I think he's also debating whether or not he tosses out Thanos with this Fan of Knives, so that way he can maybe clear
Yes.
off the Shield Bearer, drop it down to 1 health. But there
Yeah.
is merit to holding on to the Thanos as well.
This is such a tough decision because normally Fan of Knives and a Miracle Row, you just throw it out because you just want to cycle cards. But against Zoo, you have the abilities with Alice, like you said, to really clear important minions. So really trying to think about whether he wants to use it now or maybe save it up later and have two ways of removing the board with the Blade Flurry poison as well as the Fan of Knives. But he's going to go ahead and remove the 4/1. 4/1 was just too big of a threat, and ends up clearing the majority of it.
Yep, and this is where I think the Owl actually kicks in and really kind of
Yep.
annoys Reynad, because Doomguard as
Wow.
well. Doomguard's a card that's hard to deal with, especially with the hand that Reynad has. But if we can take a second to kind of analyze what Taj can do, he can deny a draw, which is really big against the Miracle Rogue player, especially since, again, he needs a way to get the draws going, and you can continue to draw from your hero power.
Yeah.
I think Taj has good answers right now to what Reynad has.
Yeah, I think that would be a really strong. I think that would be a really good play right now. He's thinking about whether the knife juggler. The knife juggler, of course, gives him the potential for additional damage too. But I think you're right. I think right now it's all about just what the Miracle Rogue can draw because if he just keeps removing, he's just running out of steam unless he draws a Gadget's in. So that Edwin Van Cleef. How big do you think that Edwin Van Cleef's going to get here?
It depends again on what Reynad draws next, but I mean, I could ease. Let's see, he has
He might
6 mana, seven
he might
mana.
play
He
it
might,
next
he might even
turn.
go all in.
Yeah, he might actually
might
play
even
it
go
next
all
turn.
in. Especially if he sees an owl and he says,
Yeah.
okay, well, there's probably not the chance that he runs it. He might have to go all in on it. Ooh.
I think he does because there's just too many minions on the board right now.
He
The
might Blade Flurry here. Actually, I think he
Yeah,
will because he can clear. So I
he
think
can
that
clear and
might.
then just play Van Cleef, right? So
No, he needs a spell power first. It's silence on the Thanos. So if you play the Drake, you can Blade Flurry and then trade the 2/3 into or the 1/1 into the 2/3. It
oh,
gets that one.
I was talking Deadly Poison, Blade
Oh,
Flurry.
I
Yeah,
apologize for that. No, actually, you can do that too.
yeah, and he can get a
You could.
6/6 and Cleef out there too, which would be pretty cool.
Well, if you shadow step it, then you get a 10/10.
That would be.
So that could actually threaten to end the game, especially if you just use
That's not
taunts.
a bad option, actually. Zoo doesn't have a great. Well, he did show an
Well,
Iron Beak Owl. Maybe he has two
exactly.
of them. It could be scary, but right now he's not guaranteed to draw a Gadgetzan. And
Okay, so he's gonna
he's doing it. He's doing
do
it.
this play, and he's
Okay.
gonna basically go for the Blade Flurry anyways, and then a big Van Cleef. Well, bigger Van Cleef, and then clear anyway. So basically, he's able to accomplish both and still put out a pretty big minion, which is
Mhm.
really nice and respectable. And actually, the best part about it is that Reynad still gets to draw from this Thanos, assuming that his opponent doesn't silence it again.
Yeah, that's true. And he'll get some extra damage from the Deadly Poison too, an extra 3.
Sure,
So that's
sure.
kind of nice. Makes up maybe a little bit for the additional 2 he could have gotten on the Edwin there.
And if I mean, he is giving up the Shadow Step. Essentially, he did the same exact play, except he got the Van Cleef out, and it's a stronger version of the Azure Drake, and he gets to draw guaranteed off the Azure Drake again.
Yeah.
So this is nice here for Reynad. It's just that whether or not his opponent's able to answer this Van Cleef, and I think, that's a big
Oh
draw.
man, the backstab. This is great.
Yeah,
He's gonna be able to
draw
clear
takes
that
Azure
knife
Drake.
juggler easy with the
Oh
shadow
man,
step too.
Shadow Step. So if he picks up a Leroy, that can be a straight up game. He can just clear board directly from here. And Reynad's looking
Uh,
pretty good against Taj unless he's
I
able
think
to
you
pull
just go
out
for it. You just
magic.
go for it, right? You just go ahead and weapon up deadly poison. Okay, no, he's just
Sure.
gonna remove it. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, just keep your Van Cleef
Well,
as
don't
safe
give
as
your
possible.
opponent any way to kill this Van Cleef. He is your lifeblood at the moment. He will be the way you win the game directly. And I think at this point, if you're Taj, you're just wondering, how am I supposed to do this? And the answer is you can't. he, he actually has no way to answer this directly. And I think there's 12 damage already
Yep,
just
there's
staring
12
at
there.
Reynad's hand.
Yep, he's got 8-1-3, and that's gonna be game. Reynad takes the series, and Van Cleef, man, pulling through. he's a pretty key card in this
Mhm.
matchup a lot of times because again, it might be one of the reasons why Tice runs now actually, is to maybe help with a Van Cleef. So
Again, that was a great recognition of Reynad having a good option. It's the best option. He just saw an Iron Beak Owl, and I think Tice would be very stretched. It'd be stretched to run two Iron Beak Owls in the deck. So he knows
yeah,
his answer to Van Cleef was not good. But by that mark, if he went for an Azure Drake, he goes for a weaker body, which he can just Soulfire immediately and lose the board. So in
yeah,
every respect, Reynad recognized the situation and made a superior play than the one I suggested. But the idea was to clear the board, which is really important against Zoo, because even if he leaves at 2-3, if it just gets a flurry of buffs with Abusive Sergeant and Soulfire, he might lose
yeah.
that Van Cleef. So I think Reynad played really well to the strengths he had. He didn't have many cards, but he was resourceful and ends up taking the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Tice ended up drawing pretty terribly too in the beginning there. He drew lots of his four
Yeah.
drops and got off to a really slow start. But that's what happens sometimes, you know. Zoo, a lot of times you'll stomp folks, and a lot of times you'll just run very dry. But we'll see what he runs next here. He ran a rogue and a druid yesterday, and those are the two decks that I know he generally runs in a lot of these events. So I wouldn't be surprised if he keeps both of them. It looks like he's going to break out his druid, and that's kind of interesting because the druid has been his anchor deck in most of the things I've seen, whether it's King of the Hill or it's Deck Wars or any events recently in the communities. But he's liking this matchup, I'm assuming, and that's why he's breaking it out now.
All right. Oh, once again, Reynad not on the coin, and his opponent does with the Yeti. So if he picks up an Innervate, he can give hell for Rogue for the first two turns, especially if he doesn't have Sap.
Yeah.
Not a really good start for Reynad, but he does have the Gadget Stand Auctioneer. Normally the coin is just so big, but at least if you have the Gadget Stand, if you pick up things like Prep and Conceal, the game can just run away.
Dude, you get Gadget, that's a good start, in my opinion. Especially when you don't have the coin. Okay,
Reynad
so
didn't
let's
attack with his
see.
weapon. Do you think that's right? There's always like debate about that. Attacking as
Um,
soon as you weapon up, especially if you don't have a clear way to follow up the following turn.
I think in this case it would have made sense to attack because there's not much the druid's going to drop that's going to require you to poison up.
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
actually really
unless he
curious.
innervated, he could have innervated like a Yeti, but he would have innervated probably already. So, yeah, I don't know. A lot there's a lot of different opinions on it, but I
Okay.
think I think I would have swung on that one in that particular case.
Hmm. I think
All
Reynad
right,
also
he's
doesn't
just
want to
gonna.
give the draw immediately to his opponent, but I think realizing that you're going to take an extra damage, which again, with a combo druid as prevalent as it is, you don't
Mhm.
want to give druid any leeway of giving them extra damage. And then a Thalnos, the draw is the primary reason of having it. And
Mhm.
if you do like 2-3 damage, then it's worth its weight in gold.
All right. Well, it's going to pay off here, given that he's got a. Oh wow. Okay, so he's got a Thalnos eviscerate option now. That
Yes,
was a really
excellent
good
top
draw.
deck.
Crazy
Yeah.
draw. Yeah.
Ideally,
Otherwise
you
he would have
wouldn't
had to
use
use.
that backstab.
Yeah. Otherwise he would have had to use it as an initiator because he didn't have the coin.
Yeah, that'd be
That,
so bad if you had like a Sinister Strike and Eviscerate because you didn't have backstab or something like that in order to
right.
remove that Yeti. Ah, do you deny the draw here? I think you do against Miracle Road.
Oh, with the keeper? Yeah, for
Hmm.
sure.
Yeah,
He's got
the
two.
best way again,
He's
stop the
got
engine.
two of them too. So even if Van Cleef becomes an issue, he can silence Van Cleef. Okay, so let's see what options he's got here. He's got the agent now, so this lines up pretty well too. If he wants to backstab an agent, that could remove the keeper, but the druid kind of likes that. The keeper is not a huge threat from a standpoint of damage, so absorbing as much of the spells as possible is going to be ideal for the druid here.
Yeah, I don't like his follow-up options here. Reynad doesn't have a
Mhm.
prep or a conceal.
Yeah.
I think if you just kind of use this SI7, do a little bit more damage, re-weapon up, and see what you can draw. Maybe you draw a deadly poison. The backstab doesn't cycle, which kind of stinks. But you still have ways to cycle through with like Sinister Strike the following turn as well. So it's not the end of the world if you hold on to this gadget stand. But at the same time, he does have a way to clear it without with just the backstab and the weapon. So if he feels ballsy, which some players do, you could go for it. But I think this is the better play.
Yeah, I think this is the better play too. Going to go in and swing our weapon up here and Tice, turn 5. All right, he's got some options here, and his hand's looking pretty rich with, really powerful units here. It's just a matter of can he get these all out?
Really
Can he?
expensive. And without Innervate
Yeah.
and stuff to kind of like push out multiple of these things, he's stuck playing them one at a time. And even worse, if he plays something like Azure Drake, which I don't think he should, because I think he doesn't need cards,
Yeah.
it just kind of like continues to clog up his hand and makes it really passive for his opponent to respond to it. So I
Yeah.
think Druid of the Claw here is the right play.
And do
But
you
then
charge it up or do you taunt it up?
he has 4 cards in hand. I feel like you wouldn't be wrong, but if you want to collect value immediately and kill off one of these minions, you could.
Yeah,
But
I
at the
think I
same
would.
time,
Well,
he
go
doesn't
ahead.
have a lot of follow up damage like immediately too. So he does have oh no, he has Argent Commander, excuse me. Ah
Yeah,
yeah, I guess you're right. He could go for the charge here.
I think I would go for the charge too. There's a, um, and you want to remove it too because the worst case is you end up taunting this thing and then Reynad saps it and then he's like pushing for even more damage, giving himself even larger of a winning condition early on.
Yeah.
So here comes the gadgets in.
Okay. See what he gets. Wants to pick up
Yeah.
preparation, obviously. Something like that.
Oh, he picks up sap. Okay.
Uh, all
It's
right, he
not exactly
whiffs.
what he wanted. Yeah.
And he might, yeah, he has to shadow step this obviously because he has
Okay.
no other thing, but that is really
Oh, there's the
painful.
conceal
Oh
though.
wow, a little
Oh,
late.
one.
Well,
Oh,
he
one
couldn't
late.
play it. He needed the preparation, but like if that was the first draw off the top, it was 2 cards off, then that would have been a huge difference.
Oh, yeah. That would have been amazing, amazing turn for him if he would have been able to do that. But he'll be able to conceal it next turn and probably get the SI agent down too.
And now the board's kind of clear for ties to just pressure. The Argent Commander is a great way just to add damage, force your opponent to kind of respond to it. And we'll see how Reynad draws off of this gadget stand once again.
Yeah, he'll be able to remove it. He'll probably pop the bubble with his weapon and SI agent that off the board.
He wants to put the SI7 though before he conceals, so that way
Mhm.
he can get optimal value on that.
Okay, sure.
And the Shiv is a nice way to start at least the draws next turn, assuming his opponent doesn't do something crazy like Gadget Sand, or sorry, Ragnaros with an Innervate and like hit it.
YOLO Ragnaros. He can't do that. Quite. He doesn't quite have enough mana yet. But
Reynad also a little
let's
frustrated he didn't draw Shiv immediately to
double
pop.
Savage Roar. Man, getting getting kind of interesting here. Let's see what he does here. He's got an Ancient Allure opportunity. Can draw 2 more cards. Maybe try to get the combo. Maybe even get the combo with an Innervate, or just the Force of Nature with an Innervate. That would be pretty sick and really put a timer on Reynad. But that's 7 damage just sitting on the board. This is usually the formula that you win with Miracle.
I think since he just used a Shadow Step, you can kind of assume you gained 6 life effectively. So I think
Okay.
drawing the cards here wouldn't be bad because you realize his burst is limited, but at the same time he does represent 8 damage right on the board. So it is kind of scary, but he doesn't have 2 Shadow Steps, and I think drawing is wouldn't be bad, but he's going for the safer option and just going for the 5 health. He already has a lot of good quality cards with him to
Oh
do
wow.
damage.
So Poison's going to be a nice draw too. He's going to be able to draw cards off of it. The Eviscerate's going to allow him to remove that Ancient Allure too and
Yeah.
continue pushing damage.
Still no preps though, and like that's still really annoying because the preps would be able to allow him to squeeze something like an Azure Drake and again
Oh,
threaten more
two,
damage.
2 deadly poisons now.
Yeah, I think you still want to kind of optimize your draws. Depends on how
Yeah,
many
shit.
cards Reynad has, but Shiv, as much as you might want to like weapon up and deadly poison, I think getting the 2 cards off Shiv is just so huge. Also, if
Yeah,
he's running like second, if he's running second conceal, that also give him a chance to draw into it as well. There's been a lot of players using second conceal.
all right. So he is gonna go for the weapon damage this turn too.
Sure, sure.
And he's gonna do 12 damage. Gonna take him down to 18 and set up
Yeah,
potential lethal next turn.
yeah, you know what? He's saying, I already use a Shadow Step. I have to make an aggressive move. Shiv is way too passive. That's making me, assuming like I have the burst to finish it. This also might telegraph like to Tice. He's saying he's being really aggressive with his damage instead of using like other target spells. If
Hmm.
he's really on key, he says like he is hovering something over my
Oh
face.
wow.
Maybe
Oh
Reynad not even
wow.
playing Cold Bloods.
Okay, this has to hit something. Okay, so it ends
Oh
up
no, it
hitting
hits a
SI.
3-3.
Hits the
That's
3-3,
bad.
but it keeps him out of Does it keep him out of lethal here? I believe it does. He actually had lethal next turn, but
No, he has it out right now because he just picked up the Shadow
is it?
Step.
Oh, Shadow
That's
Step. Oh,
12
nice
of
draw.
21. Reynad just took this game,
Oh,
and he didn't
wow.
even need the Gadget Stand right there for this turn, but the previous turn was huge in order to
Yeah,
cycle it through. And I think,
absolutely.
again, the payoff was really good because he already used a Shadow Step. He recognized, look, I
Mhm.
don't have the burst I want, if assuming I have to draw into the second Shadow Step to get it. Does he have Cold Bloods? We're not sure.
I'm
But
not
Reynad
sure if
now
he
jumps out
does.
to a 2-0 lead because of it.
Yeah, and really convincing fashion. And Tice, the Druid deck is generally that's his deck to really take series with. So I think he's going to have to opt for probably a mirror matchup here. Tice ran Rogue yesterday, and he typically runs Rogues in these type of series. So we'll see if he breaks that out. Mirror matchups between the Rogues are always a lot of fun, always a lot of aggression early on. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. See if we can see one here. Be the first of the day too. First mirror matchup
Yep.
for Rogue.
In the meantime, guys, as we take a quick break or a quick second to kind of get ready for game number 3, make sure to continue to tell your friends about what's going on by hashtagging WPCHS on Twitter and get that trending. And don't forget, that's one of the ways you enter yourself into the raffle, which is going on for 22 different prizes being given out. So you can find out more information at wellplayed.org/raffle. See at the bottom right of your screen.
Yep. And a big shout out to the WellPlayed folks and doing the production for this entire event, as well as the sponsor Twitch for helping provide this event and with the prize money too. Again, these players are playing for a $3,000 prize pool, so lots of money on the line.
Do
Some
we know
great
how the
matches.
prize pool breaks down, by the way? Because it is 3,000, but
Yeah, it's a good
is there a
question.
prize for top 6? Because these guys are playing for a spot in the top 6 currently.
Oh, that's a good question. I'm not sure. We can find out from the
All right,
organizers
something
real
to note.
quick. Yeah.
Something to note. Oh, now the mirror. Reynad finally gets the
Oh, here we
coin, which is
go. This
important.
is.
But Ties does have the gadgets in.
This is gonna be some key cards. Let's talk about the key cards in the mirror matchup, Frodan.
Well, Gadgets and Auctioneer is a key card in almost every
In every
matchup, but
matchup.
I think these other ways to cycle and combo with things like Sinister Strike might actually be super important as well. It sneaks in the damage, it cycles, it's a combo starter. Those are the things that let you get in and be able to damage it. And on the flip side as well, Farseers often put you out of range, and it's about like how you're able to sequence everything in order to
Yeah.
optimize your chances to win and survive.
Yeah. Getting those early minions down definitely can be great way to set up that pressure that you need and even set up for like just crazy aggression going all in too. So Reynad not really starting with any of those early minions, but he's got two Azure Drakes, so if he can kind of round out into that turn 4
Yeah.
with the coin here, he can start establishing the board really well.
Azure Drakes are actually great too. It
Yep.
allows you to put a really powerful body that your opponent has to kind of eviscerate. That's damage not going to your face. Reynad picks up the gadgets and he has a
Yep.
preparation. So, and he does have the coin and backstab. So he has lots of ways to answer his opponent. Maybe just one conceal away from potentially just going off on turns 5 and turn 6 to draw like all of his
Oh,
deck.
wow. Ty
Ties
draws
also has a
Leroy.
conceal though. Like,
Oh,
oop,
Ty draws Leroy too, and just conceal with the Leroy in this matchup is can be pretty brutal too. So this is both players really drawing a lot of the weapons that they need. Let's just see who'll be able to fire first, because that. Oh my gosh, Reynad draws Leroy too. This is gonna
yeah.
be some
It
fireworks, man.
It's going to be a race to the finish at one point.
Yeah.
At one point, you're going to see both these players in the high 20s, 30 health. And then, a
Mhm.
course of over 2 turns, they'll probably burn
It's
each
all
other down
gone.
to like 10 to 15,
I know that's gonna be
Shadow
crazy.
Step pickup for Reynad. So he
Both.
has lots of
Yeah.
damage. So does Tice, though. And he has
Yeah.
an extra mana. So the coin, he doesn't have the coin, but he effectively always has the coin because he will have 1 mana ahead of his opponent. And that allows him to play his Gadget and Conceal a turn earlier, unless Reynad is able to pick it up now for his next turn so that he can use preparation with it.
Okay, so there's gonna be a little bit of a dynamic here where Tice, he's got the two SI agents. He's gonna be able to establish the board with those minions a little bit faster than Reynad, given that Reynad only has the Azure Drake and the Gadget Stand right now. So we'll see if that actually gives Tice an added advantage compared to the card advantage that Reynad has right now with all those draws that he's had so far. Okay, gets the SI agent on the board, and we'll see how Reynad responds to this. He doesn't have a poison, doesn't have a really super easy way to just get rid of this with a single card.
I can Azure Drake backstab if he wants.
Yeah,
I think that
that's
might be
actually
preferable
that's true. That's actually really good.
and and set it up. He also can just try to go off. He has backstabs, preparation, shivs, and he can also remove it that way and start drawing like crazy. One thing that is kind of important to note though is with cards like shivs and fan of knives and you're drawing two with gadgets and you don't want to overdraw and you might burn like a really important card like his second shadow step or something. So Reynad might have to be kind of cautious. I don't think I think getting out the gadget and cycling through your deck though is way more powerful than playing really passively with an Azure Drake where your opponent can respond with his gadgets and eviscerate.
Yep, that's a good point. And Tice is gonna need a draw here, or else he's gonna have to. Whoa. Okay, so
Okay,
that's
Blade
great. Yeah,
Flurry,
great.
Deadly Poison. All of these things are nice to have. Sinister Strike, cool.
Drawing all his weapons at this point, and he's got the two heals too, which can be really really important. Just to when it gets down to the nitty gritty, really really close games here. So Tice ends up
Yes.
drawing a Shiv. He can remove the Gadgetzan, but it's not. Well, he can remove the Gadgetzan and throw down an
That
SIH.
stinks.
Yeah, he really
That
wants to
stinks.
Gadgetzan conceal here.
Right, and he picks up a preparation. That makes the world of difference. But unfortunately, it's just not guaranteed enough. And so he has to go for the guaranteed. Oh no!
Oh, he
He
threw it
drew the
out of order
preparation.
again.
He doubted his own RNG. He doubted his own RNG. That is too bad.
Oh, we can't blame him though. You gotta stop. Actually, Reynad has so many cards anyways.
He's at full hand. He's at 10.
Yeah, exactly. I wonder how many cards he has left. Probably still has like a nine, something like that. 9, 8.
I would probably say on the arrow mode 12
You
to
think so? Okay.
14-ish.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's only turn six. What am I talking about? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
probably 12 to
So
14.
he probably still has a good half of his deck. He's still missing some kind of important cards like Shadow Step. He also doesn't really have that much mana to play with.
Yeah. So Reynad's got a lot of choices here. So you still got the same. Oh, okay. So he's gonna go with the Azure Drake there and the poison.
Straight up removal.
Yeah. Getting establishing the board with a strong minion like that is gonna do him a lot of good here. And Tice doesn't have an easy way to remove this.
The hard thing is that well, one the Farseers are nice to kind of surprise your opponent. Say Taj overextends
Oh,
into
nice.
damaging to set up a lethal, then he plays the Farseers and puts it out of reach. The
Oh, he's
second
gonna.
thing is, whoa, wait. If he's not able, oh, he does sap it. If he wasn't able to deal with that Drake, he could use a spell-powered Blade Flurry to kill off the concealed Gadget Sand.
Yeah, and well,
Actually, he still
one.
can. He still can.
Yeah, he can still do it. Well, one nice thing about sapping that too is that you're gonna force Reynad to burn a card.
If it's
Fortunately
Shadow
for
Step,
that's a
oh
lot of yeah.
man,
Fast shot step would be
he's
pretty brutal.
hoping for like
Any kind of
Sinister Strike or Sap or something like that.
any kind of damage and yeah, possibly sap too.
But he has, Ties in the meantime has picked up a lot of damage from his hand as well. Next turn, he'll have
Yeah, you're
16
right.
damage.
That is crazy.
Yeah, he'll have 16 damage, and he also has a 3. So if Reynad spends his turn, Van Cleave. Okay, well, Van Cleave unfortunately wasn't really going to be useful anyways right now. If Reynad gets, he actually is staring at lethal. He goes for the Azure
Oh, he's
Drake and
gonna
the
remove
Blade
it.
Flurry. He's
Yeah,
just dead.
I think that's what he's gonna do. I mean,
Oh
it's
man.
pretty clear. That's what he's gonna do here.
Okay.
Gonna remove it and let's make
Well,
sure.
that's the game
15.
then.
Yep, that's the game. Yep, that is the game. It's gonna be exactly
So
19 for Tice here, and he's gonna finish it.
that's just kind of how Miracle works sometimes. If you go too much for card advantage and you don't have an opportunity to put damage onto your opponent to get him within your burst range, then that's what happens. And also, that's kind of like another thing that over time, as much as card advantage is really nice to have,
Hmm.
the extra mana does really kick in. That gives Taj the ability to play his burst just a little bit quicker than his opponent and often can end the game. So this is where sometimes if you don't get the coin as Miracle Rogue, it ends up paying off if you don't take too much damage and you actually stabilize early on.
I mean, the real question. So obviously, Reynad thought he threw that game, and the real question is, I guess, what turn should he have done something else? I mean, should he have played two heals there? Was it that turn? Or was it the previous turn or two? Because I'm trying to kind of rehash where he could have played it differently. He did have a lot of damage with Leroy still sitting in his hand, but can you think of any opportunities where he could have played it differently? Off the top of your
Sorry,
head, just off the top of your head.
you cut out, so
Oh,
I
okay.
only heard half your question. I think your question was, what could he have done differently?
Yeah. Yeah. Can you recall
Okay,
any plays I could have played it differently?
yeah. So I guess the obvious one is that he had to heal, but you know what? Actually, the game is
Yeah.
starting, Jan, man. I'd love to
Yeah.
kind of think
Yeah.
about this
Well,
and break
we'll
it down,
rehash
but
it
we
a
have to
little bit
talk about the
later.
next game.
Exactly.
Sure, sure, sure.
So,
So ask me
Reynad.
later, maybe we can think about it.
All right. So game number 4, Reynad up 2-1 against Tice, and Reynad starting out with a coin and a Twilight Drake. This is a hand lock. It's going to be a good start for him there.
Having four drop is really important for to make life as difficult as possible for the rogue. I
Yep.
don't think coining life tap here is really necessary. I mean, you do have a drop like the Ancient Watcher, because what you do is you coin life tap and then life tap next turn, and the next turn you drop an Ancient Watcher. But you do make yourself 2 extra life, more prone to burst, and you also still have the opportunity to coin out the Azure Drake. So I think keeping the coin and not life tapping was the right move here.
Yeah, looking pretty good. He's got some taunts too. Ooh, and that's faceless too. Man, it's pretty much a lot of things that you want to see
Yeah.
as a hand lock when you're facing a Miracle Rogue. Still no sap on Tice's end.
It's very, very difficult for Rogue to usually deal with this unless they have a lot of spell power with really good stuff like backstab, eviscerates, and stuff.
Yep.
Ty's one thing that is in his favor though is he has all these little pieces here to help combo off the SS7. He might keep it rather than just playing it naked, but I think just weaponing up here is okay.
Yeah, if he weapons up here, he'll have a chance to do what, 7 damage, which isn't going to remove that Azure Drake actually.
What's annoying is that if he plays the SI7 naked, not only does he lose out on the battle cry, but I mean his opponent gets an opportunity to respond immediately to it. And say if he doesn't have a 4 drop anyways, you kind of play into his way to stall for time.
Yeah.
Because normally if they don't have a 4 drop, they're just going to be life tapping and then like playing something whittle. But then you soul fire it and then you kind of set up for another turn 5 play or something like that.
All right, so the Watcher comes down on instead of the coin Drake there.
Sure.
How do you like that play? Well,
Well, I mean, he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to. He wants to make it as big health as possible, and you know the Watcher is still annoying, especially if you have the Sun Fury, so there's another activator. I
yep.
mean, it kind
Oh,
of already did a lot by just absorbing a lot of damage instead of his face. But now Reynad actually just gets a clean way to
yep.
use
And he
this right now.
oh, and he removes it. Loses the faceless. That's unfortunate.
That's unfortunate. Yeah,
Yeah.
because then you could faceless. If you can't deal with this Drake, you faceless it, and
Yeah,
then
and
that's
that
just like
happens a lot of times too. And you can, but that's okay. He still has a lot of things in his. He's still got 2 taunts in it. He's got the Molten Giant if he runs low. And looking at Tyson hand right now, he's gonna struggle removing this thing. He used the SI agent already. Didn't do any damage to the
might pick up
Twilight
a
Drake.
sap with this or something along those lines.
Needs
Oh,
it.
a second prep.
Crap. Look at all those 0 mana spells, man. That's asking for a Van Cleave.
Yeah, but then what do? You prep. You like backstab,
I
prep
know.
into like a Van Cleef, and then
12 Van
Reynad
Cleave.
coins Siphon Souls. Like just, yeah. I think he is just gonna bet. Actually, I'm surprised he didn't. Oh no, so he has deadly poison. That's right. I was like, he
Yeah.
doesn't dagger up. My mistake.
All right, so Reynad looking pretty good here. He's actually just gonna tap. Ooh,
I think he feels
draws the
really safe.
yeah, draws a commander. Nice.
I think you also wonder, do you
Nice.
go for something like the taunt? Is because then the Drake already kind of has taunt in a way for sap, so it's really annoying for him to deal
Yeah,
with.
it's true.
So in a way, you don't necessarily have to give a taunt,
Oh,
but
there's a sap.
I think he wants to
Okay, so
put more damage on.
all right, so there's the sap. It's gonna negate that taunt, and the Twilight Drake's gonna be the same size when it comes out again. Tice
But
really wanting a guy to Zan right now. He could draw a lot of cards right now.
more important than just the sap, though, like Ty's needs a follow up of some kind, because what he's gonna sap, kill the 2/3, weapon up,
Oh, he can play a Van Cleave.
Edwin Van Cleef, and then that dies to the Argent Commander, or even maybe just a Soulfire. Like these kinds of plays are just so weak from the Miracle Rogue. I think the only thing that ties is keeping him is that one, he still has double prep, so if he gets into Gadget Stand, he's gonna be able to go off with draws.
Yeah,
But the
that's
second thing is that he also hasn't seen Giants from his opponent, so he knows that Reynad's not exactly drawing the best here.
he could run too. He could run with a Leroy Coldblood and all of a sudden just sneak out a win. He's got the 2 Shadow Steps already. we're coming into
Oh,
turn,
that is true.
we're coming into turn 8 too. So, we're looking at least potential for 18 from him if he can get that draw. But the Gadgetzan is going to be the huge thing to help him draw all those Cold Bloods and Leroy's and that sort of bit. Reynad here sitting again with a lot of cards, kind of, similar in some ways to last game, but he's only down to one taunt now.
Yeah, and
Thinking,
I think he
thinking
wants to
about
play this Drake
tactics.
again.
Wow.
He
He's
wants
gonna
to
do.
play this Drake again, impose on the board, use the Soulfire, and then
Yeah.
hopefully discard something like the coin. Okay.
Oh, nice.
Good,
That's
good, good. He
perfect
didn't
for
lose
him.
anything. Like the Molten Giant's really good. I think he would have been okay with losing Mortal Coil. But like these kinds of cards like Siphon Soul is really key, the taunt's key.
Oh, look at those spells. Oh, this is just
Oh.
brutal for Tice right now.
This is again the other side of Miracle. A lot of people
Mhm.
complain, say Miracle is just way too strong, but when you don't get gadgets in and you have all these cards that don't help you, like, and that's again the Sinister Strike. Some people replace these spells with cards like Gnomish Inventor, so that way you have something. Novice Engineer, so that way you're actually doing something with your mana. That's 5 mana unused on turn 7.
Mhm.
That is making Reynad feel really, really
I know.
confident, especially with this play.
Now he gets two taunts here, and this is where it's brutal for the Miracle Rogue. He's got to have two
He
saps.
needs gadgets in now.
Already
Gadgets
used
in or
one.
bust.
Oh, he's Azure Drake. Gets another draw. Watch, he probably gets gadgets in there.
No, he
Yeah, he
gets the
gets.
SI7.
Can remove one of the guys. Yeah, he can remove one of the guys with. Well,
And we
yeah.
know Reynad actually has 8 damage just from the hand alone. So, assuming he can't kill the Drake and the Defender of Argus, that's actually game right there.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. With like no other ability, like he's not going to prep this Sinister Strike or anything. Reynad's going to advance
And
to
that's
the
gonna.
top 6 off the back of, well, not the best draws, but better, way better than ties.
Oh yeah, way better. Look at
Way
that,
better than
man.
ties. Because the
That is
Mountain Giant
man.
came way too late.
Exactly. Lots of times when Miracle loses, it looks a lot like that. Uh, but all right, congrats to Reynad. He moves on, and he's going to be facing. He's going to be
I believe his
facing
teammate, Tides of
his teammate.
Time. So,
Oh,
in a
Tides of
way,
Time.
Temple
Oh,
Storm is
geez.
guaranteed top 4, but bittersweet.